Welcome to day 8 of my 10-day challenge, where I draw houseplants. Here's the plant I'll be drawing today. We're finally back to actual houseplants because the past couple of days have been either fruit or outdoor plants. This one actually is a houseplant, and it's the last of them, so the next couple of days will be some other exception to the rule again. So earlier in this series, I was talking about how drawing in vector is fun because I can edit the lines, and I enjoy that part of the process, especially because I can make a much neater and cleaner line than I usually can, at least in digital. And I was thinking about how that can be a mixed blessing, because if you have the ability to edit, you also have the ability to over-edit and just keep tinkering with the lines, and maybe even making them worse. Thinking about that, I'm contrasting this exercise with some other media I've used, and I think the most different would be sketching in pen on paper, because then you can't even erase, and that's a pretty good exercise for getting comfortable making lines and just kind of moving on, accepting them however they come out. And also, watercolor is a really good exercise for avoiding perfectionism and avoiding over-editing. Sometime last year, I had a whole kick when I was just doing a lot of watercolor and ink, which is quite similar to watercolor, back to back. And quite similar to this, I was just doing a watercolor every day, and I was so hooked on it that I was doing multiple per day. And the thing with watercolor is, at some point, if you keep adding paint or adding water, you can see that the picture is very clearly getting worse. And so you kind of have to stop at some point. And you can almost see, okay, I can tell now that this is as good as it's going to get. And if I want to keep painting, I'm just going to have to call this done and then start a new picture. And so I think that can be a really good way to avoid perfectionism. Since doing things like that, I don't really identify as a perfectionist or having perfectionism. I think I'm better nowadays at tinkering with something and then getting to a point where I'm happy with it and then stopping. And so having done that, this vector drawing is an interesting contrast where I can edit just a little bit and then stop. It also reminds me of writing, because you have the same question there, like how much are you going to edit your writing, how much are you going to mess with your word choices, and finding that balance is something I've wondered about as well. And then the third example is making these videos now. And the interesting thing there is that while I'm editing a video, I pretty much can't change anything because I'm not going to reshoot the video. The lighting's changed, and I kind of want to accurately document what happened while I was drawing, so I wouldn't redraw it and try to change what happened. And so editing there is there's a very clear end point, because I know there's nothing I can do without reshooting. So those are a bunch of different examples of how much you can and can't edit. And I think in each case there's a right amount of editing to do. And it's interesting to kind of practice one until you find that balance, and then also to try a bunch of different media and see how it changes. So here's the version of the picture that I like best. I took out some of the hatching at the back of the pot. And here's what I just drew. And that concludes day 8 of my 10-day drawing challenge. See you next time.